Welcome to the Level Up podcast presented by The Ultimate Gamer, a show that features conversations with the trailblazers, thought leaders, risk takers, decision makers, celebrities, athletes, and investors who are defining the gaming and eSports space. On Level Up, we take a journey into this dynamic industry and start to decode and reveal who and what's making news. It's about connecting, and it's about sharing the stories and vision of the people who make gaming and esports a global phenomenon. As we do in every episode, we'd like to thank The Ultimate Gamer as the visionary and catalyst behind Level Up. The Ultimate Gamer is an esports and gaming, entertainment, technology, culture, and lifestyle organization with the intention of discovering the best gamer in the world. Connecting and celebrating gamers and gaming is at the core of The Ultimate Gamer's mission. And now, please welcome your host, student of the game and connector to the esports community, Tommy Knapp.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tommy Knapp, and this is an all-new episode of the Level Up podcast presented by The Ultimate Gamer. On today's show, I have a conversation with Joey Brander, president and managing partner of First Serve Partners. He was the youngest person ever hired to be an ESPN radio host, and soon after settled into a career in venture capitalism. As president of FSP, he has invested in the Toronto Defiant and Splyce, as well as the Mad Lions, giving his firm a piece of 3 major franchised esports leagues. After we tinkered our way through a few audio and visual challenges, the two of us settled into a very entertaining conversation about the industry. You see, Joey knows esports. He's an expert investor and was one of the first to anticipate the esports world's path to resembling the traditional sports structure. As a successful venture capitalist and student of the game industry, his deal flow is substantial. He's a special guest host on Cheddar Esports and a frequent contributor to multiple media outlets due to his unique knowledge, connections, and understanding of the space. Clear your mind and then sit back and hang on for this one. There's a lot to take in. Here's Joey Brander.
And I think you know Steve Suarez, right, from The Ultimate Gamer?
Oh, this is Steve's thing?
Yeah.
Oh,
So I'm working with Steve again. When he first started Ultimate Gamer in 2019, it was all about the competition, that property, which was a multi-title competition. But now we're expanding to do more things under that Ultimate Gamer umbrella. And the podcast was just kind of low-hanging fruit. And I just figured, honestly, man, you're the first person I reached out to, first person to talk to. And I think it's a perfect fit because, I mean, you're all over the place, bro. I see you on Cheddar Esports. I see you like in articles. So you're all over the place. I guess just kind of starting, you were just on a call, but before that, you're traveling a lot, right? What are you doing right now? Like with Corona, I mean, you can't be traveling like you were before this all happened.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it has impacted the way that everyone around the world does business, the way we, communicate, the way that we get deals done, the way that, we work together. And we haven't been able to travel, obviously, in for the past month and a half now plus, and I'm used to traveling. I'm probably on the road 2 to 3 weeks of every month, so it's certainly been an adjustment. Learning how to engage with people and build relationships when you can't be across the table from them, or you can't be talking over a cup of coffee or over lunch or over whatever, and really building that relationship in person. But how do you do that in virtually? And I think it's all something people are adjusting to. But on the flip side, I actually think that we've been more productive as a result. And you don't realize how much time goes into your commute or the actual traveling experience of going to the airport and getting on the plane and flying and getting to your hotel and checking in and then going to whatever it is you have to go to. And the same thing on the back end as well. You just don't realize what all goes into that. So, I think that just having, the hours of your day at home able to pour into whatever you're actually working on, has increased productivity, I think, quite a bit, at least for us.
Yeah, it's interesting. I hadn't thought about it that way, but there's a number of things that you need to rethink about as we're going through this. And one of the things that I noticed was I had not filled up my gas tank in like 5 weeks. And the gas, and I didn't even understand or realize that the gas prices had gone down to like $1.69 or something like that. It was crazy how far they went down. So I've only filled my gas tank once in this entire time because of exactly what you said. I haven't been driving around and running around and going to all these meetings. So it's nice, and you don't get stuck in traffic. And I think you're right. As long as you're able to adapt, I think you can be much more productive. And I think having the ability to use Zoom and some of these other mediums does at least allow us to interact face to face.
Without a doubt.
And have a little bit of, some of that interaction. So kind of, if you can, for me, for us, this is the first podcast we're doing, can you run us through like your origin story? You're one of those people to me that's been very endemic in the space. You kind of grew up in it. You've been doing the media side for probably a decade now, right? And you're seeing deals every single day, and you're an investor in the space. So can you kind of give us an idea of like how that has happened over the past 5, 10, 15 years?
Sure, and I guess before we go into, is the lighting and everything fine? I know that it's kind of bright behind me there.
It's when you move around a little bit, you kind of get a little bit of, it'll like your face will become a little bit dark, but then when you sit still, it's fine. I mean, like okay. I can see you right now fine, but when you move forward or you move back, then it shadows you for a second and then it adjusts.
Okay, so I'm good here, or do you want me to?
Yeah. No, I think it's fine.
So anyway, back to that question now. Yeah, I mean, it has been incredible to see just how fast the esports and gaming industries have grown over the past, couple of years. I think that when we first started investing in the space, every tailwind, every trend was pointing to the fact that for emerging generations, millennials, Gen Zers, and so forth, esports and gaming were primary sources of entertainment and primary sources of community and of interaction. It was just like when we grew up and we formed relationships based on our favorite NBA team or player, or we created memories playing, basketball in the backyard. For young people and people of my generation and younger, they're doing that through gaming. They're playing with each other online. They're making friends solely through the games that they play. They're forming relationships on social media or in other communication platforms around the teams or the influencers that they care about. And I think that has only quickened over the past couple of years as more and more people are exposed to the space. As it has become more of a part of mainstream culture, as traditional media outlets have been reporting on it and airing some of these games or matches, as young people become a larger and larger percentage of the population, and therefore their ideas and beliefs and habits and the things that they enjoy become a larger and larger piece of mainstream culture. So I think it's been incredible to see just how everything has grown, and even with everything happening in the world with this crisis right now. I mean, the major esports leagues that we own franchises in are the only sporting events really still occurring. I mean, they haven't missed a beat. They're all online, but viewership has increased as a result, and the number of media outlets that have written about these leagues filling the void of traditional sports, from the Financial Times to the New York Times, Washington Post, Time Magazine, Forbes, all writing about it, to the point where I now have aunts and uncles and cousins that had, never seen a video game in their entire life, but maybe heard me talk about it over Thanksgiving at some point, send me these articles and say, oh, wait, isn't this that thing that you're involved in, or that you've been talking about? Or, hey, I see that, ESPN is airing video games. I'm going to check it out because there's nothing else to watch. And then they like it, they enjoy it. So I think that it's, it'll be fascinating to see how everything continues to evolve and emerge as a result of what's happening in the world right now. It's, an unprecedented event, obviously. And, hopefully some of these people that are now giving esports and gaming a chance will become fans of it forever.
Yeah. Do you think I have a feeling that it's accelerated? Like, I saw a lot of this happening, whether it was on traditional linear media or over the top. Like, I saw it was going on, it was happening. Yep. But I think it's accelerated because of what has happened over the last 2 or 3 months, because you had your traditional sports teams that were dipping the toe in the water, if you will, and thinking about, what am I going to do? But now it's like, okay, we just need to start doing stuff because there's nothing else happening in that space.
100%. Yeah, I completely agree. And there's never been, one, a more captive audience of hundreds of millions of people around the world all stuck at home, and two, I mean, barely anything else to watch. I mean, it's not like they're on the traditional sports networks, you're watching 15-year-old baseball games, or 20-year-old hockey games, or whatever it is that they're airing. And as a result, people are looking for new sources of entertainment, and esports and gaming can fill that void. People are looking for sources of competition when they can't go outside and play pickup game of whatever. So jumping on the Xbox or the PlayStation and calling their friends and all playing together is that form of community and competition. And even when you talk about traditional athletes, the number of phone calls or texts I've gotten from pro athletes in our network or their agents saying, hey, we're not making money over the next couple of months as our seasons are, potentially finished, and it's not like we have the opportunity for traditional appearances or opportunities. So how do I create a Twitch account and stream? Or, hey, I've been playing Call of Duty every day. Can I, do it online and maybe grow my brand as a result, or build my social following? How do I do that? And so we've been working with a lot of those guys, just helping them literally, set up Twitch accounts and start streaming and build their following and all that. And I think that what you're going to start seeing is just like, 10 years ago, every celebrity wanted a reality show, right? In the wake of the growth of the Kardashians and everything else, every celebrity said, how do I get a reality show? And I think now every celebrity is going to say, how do I get a Twitch account or a Mixer account? Or how do I work with Facebook gaming or YouTube gaming? Because one, it's incredibly high margin. Obviously, all you need is a webcam. There's not that physical infrastructure or production cost. And two, you can engage so many people in an authentic way, get brands and sponsors involved, and continuously build your fan base and your brand from the comfort of your bedroom or your living room. So I think you're going to continue to see more and more of that, and more traditional celebrities, jump in and start gaming and streaming as well.
Yeah, I'd love to hear kind of what you guys did with the Toronto Defiant as far as that goes. But I want to go back a little bit, because you said we, and I want to let anybody that's going to be listening to the podcast understand who we is, as far as First Serve Partners is your company, as your president of that company, and the people you work with. And then, has your thesis changed at all because of what's going on in the last 2 or 3 months? Have you changed direction on some of the things that you're looking at investing in?
Yeah, so we're a venture capital firm. We invest across sports, media, entertainment, and consumer, but our primary focus is esports and gaming. A number of our investors and both of my partners are former professional athletes, so we work with a lot of athletes and influencers try and be as actively involved as we can with our portfolio, adding as much value as we can, leveraging their name and brand and network to move the needle for our consumer-facing portfolio companies. And through that, we're part of the ownership group of franchises in the Overwatch League, Call of Duty League, League of Legends LEC, part of the ownership group of Mad Lions, the most popular Spanish language esports organization. And we've done a number of other deals around esports and gaming as well, and just try to be as active as possible within it. I think that we've always been really bullish on esports and in gaming as a whole, and I think that this has only further deepened our interest and passion for these spaces, and we're certainly continuing to be active. I'd say for everyone at home, stay tuned over the next couple of weeks for some announcements from us of what those next couple of deals look like, and what those next couple of kind of strategic moves look like as we continue to invest and move deeper and deeper within these spaces. We're excited for what's to come in the industry.
So was that the tweet? I put a note down, the tweet that you maybe tweeted 2 weeks ago about big things to come.
Listen, I can't give all the answers. We have to leave people in some kind of suspense with what's going on. Have to give some kind of a cliffhanger so they keep following. But we're excited for what the next couple of weeks and the next couple of months will bring. Not only for us in terms of FSP and some of the new deals that we're going to be announcing, but also for our existing portfolio companies and some of the things that they're working on. I think that it's an exciting time for the industry altogether, and I think that people are going to be that are passionate about this space are going to be excited with what they see coming. So we'll certainly keep everyone updated on all those fronts.
Cool. Could you talk at all about I don't know exactly if it happened already or if it's about to happen, but the event that was going to be as a fundraiser, I believe a Corona fundraiser through, I think, the Defiant?
Through the Ultra.
Through Ultra?
Yeah, so that's our Call of Duty franchise, the Toronto Ultra. So we've had two so far. and there's going to be another one coming up on June 1st. So basically what it is Call of Duty Warzone stream, all for charity. So it's a team of 4. It's 3 athletes or celebrities, and then with Methods, who's the kind of best player on our Call of Duty team. He's a longtime champion in Call of Duty, and they play together, they stream together, and they all pick a charity of their choice, and to raise funds for that are all affiliated or with the proceeds going to COVID relief, whether it's to frontline workers or to businesses that have been impacted or whatever it may be. So the first one was with Mitch Marner from the Toronto Maple Leafs, NHL All-Star, and Malcolm Miller from the Toronto Raptors. The second one that we did this past week was with a couple of friends of mine, Chase Edmonds from the Arizona Cardinals, and Donovan Carter, who's one of the stars of Ballers on HBO, as well as I Am Suda, who's a big YouTuber. And then the third one we're going to be doing, I'm not sure if they've announced it yet, but I'm happy to give you the scoop regardless. That'll be June 1st. I can't announce yet who's going to be in it, but there's going to be 2 pretty big music stars that are going to be playing, and 1 professional athlete that everyone at home will certainly be familiar with, that will be playing alongside Methods from our Call of Duty team. So we're excited for the ones that we've had so far. It's been great to kind of bring attention to some of the foundations that are doing incredible work for those that are have been negatively impacted by the virus. And I think this next one is going to be a great one also. Some really cool personalities that'll all be streaming and playing together. It's just been fun to see how these different guys all come together from their different backgrounds, and they all just love gaming. And as soon as they get on the stream together, they're joking around, they're making fun of each other, they're playing together. It's cool to see how they all develop their own little teams and how engaged the people are watching at home. So it's been fun to work with the Ultra and put these together.
And I know you don't specifically, there's a marketing team, there's the whole team behind putting that event on, but can you kind of run that past me a little bit as far as how that operates? Because, I've done some things recently, which were on location events, the Four Seasons, the Ritz-Carlton down in Key Biscayne with David Ortiz, Ray Lewis for the Super Bowl. And when we did those events, we brought people into a space, but we didn't really have it scheduled so much. So I don't know if we optimized that opportunity, right, to raise money. So I think people are learning. It's kind of like we talked about before. You just start doing it, right? Just start doing it, and then you'll figure it out as it goes along. So you guys have already done one, and now you've done a second one, and now you've got this third one on June 1st. Do you think you've already had a number of best practice learnings over that time? And do you think you'll raise more money from this event than you did from the first event? And exactly what does that look like, Joey? How do you put it on, and who donates, and who's the audience?
I think that the core thesis is that if you get the right names involved who care about these causes authentically and who have large followings, big names, and you just allow them to be themselves and have fun, people will watch. And if people watch, and you continue to have compelling calls to action, so everyone that participates, all the celebrities, we have them record a video beforehand of why they're supporting the cause or the charity that they chose and what it means to them. And how that plays, at different points throughout the broadcast. And there are, a multitude of calls to action. And if you get people to watch and they're having a good time, they're enjoying it, they're feeling good, and then they see how and why these organizations really mean something to these celebrities that are playing and why they've chosen them, maybe will strike a chord with someone watching at home, and maybe they'll be compelled to donate and be part of the cause as well. Of course, there are always things you can learn of, how to best market these streams, what platforms to simulcast them on, days and time. So we had been doing Sunday night, and for the next one, it's going to be a Monday night, I believe. We decided to switch the day because from what we've seen with other streams, there may be an uptick in viewership as a result. So little things like that. You can always learn from, but I think that the core idea of getting, well-known individuals who really care about these causes all together, allowing them to have a great time and be themselves, and then, calling the people watching at home to action to donate to causes that need it is the right formula to hopefully raising money for good causes. So I think we've been happy with the results thus far, and I think that it'll just continue, getting better as we learn more, as the people involved learn more and everything else.
And do you think you'll continue after the corona? Because obviously right now a lot of it's been geared at the coronavirus and what's going on there. But there's just so many causes out there. And I see this as a huge opportunity for gaming. I've talked to a number of people about this. And a lot of times when you're working with professional athletes, and if they do a golf event or if they do a fishing tournament, if they do something like that, they have the ability to invite people, raise money for their foundation or their cause. But it's typically only the people that are there at the event. And gaming has that ability to we can do that stream, and it's global, right? Anybody can donate from anywhere in the world at any time during that event. So it's a much more massive opportunity. So I do you see, aside from what you're doing right now, do you see the teams maybe doing some more community events geared around cause-related activities?
100%. And I think we, in terms of FSP, will continue doing that, as will our teams. We've recently launched the First Serve Initiative, which is a charitable arm of FSP. The immediate initiative is going to be raising money and providing resources for small businesses in South Florida that have been negatively impacted by the virus. South Florida is an incredibly entrepreneurial community. There are a ton of small businesses that are the backbone of our society, of our economy in South Florida, and a lot of people that are specifically in industries that have been hit the hardest, whether it's hospitality, retail, travel, tourism, entertainment. And, for us to be able to do our part is great. And for anyone at home watching, shoot us a note, info@firstservepartners.com. Go onto our social media. We're also going to be launching a website, firstserveinitiative.org, within the next couple of days with a contact us form on there. If you are a small business owner out there who is looking for advice, feedback, best practices, introductions to investors or to lenders, if you need some capital to get through this period, and also we're going to be raising money for grants for small businesses in the area as well. So if any of those things are of interest to you, send us a note or we'll hop onto that website, and we're allocating a certain percentage of our day every single day to getting on the phone with small business owners in the area and trying to help however we can as they try and get through this time. So there's that. And then in terms of the Ultra and the Defiant and some of our teams, I think that they've realized the power that they have with the brands they've built and the fan bases that they have to give back. And I think that they're going to continue doing this as well, and we all will together. The next one, as I said, is June 1st. There's going to be another one after that, a couple of weeks later, that's already been scheduled. And then I think we'll see, from there, how it'll work, whether it'll continue to be once or twice a month, whether it'll just be once or twice a year. But I certainly think that these kind of, charitable initiatives will be a regular part of what we do and what they do, going forward.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's amazing the stuff that you guys are doing. It's great to hear. Just kind of changing gears a little bit. I based on the fact that you kind of straddle the spaces with over the top and being online and streaming, and also being in linear television and doing a lot of interviews like on Cheddar eSports and a number of other areas. What do you feel the production value has been? What do you feel? We've gone to a lot of esports now. ESPN's trying to run some of these. We had NBA 2K. We've got some of the iRacing series that are going on. How do you feel that is translated over? Because like you said, there's a mainstream media that is kind of peeking at this now and seeing it. What do you think about what's going on in the space? And I just mean from an overall perspective. And then also, what do you think about from the production side? Because again, I have some feelings about the production side, but I also think that let's start doing these things and then we figure it out as we go along. And I think that's what some of the networks are doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the interesting thing with esports is that it can be kind of dressed up or dressed down accordingly, depending on what you're looking to do. You can garner an incredible following and viewership count just by streaming at home with nothing more than your webcam. You can also put on events that are more engaging, I think, even than traditional sports, with high production value or quality events with lights and effects and engagement opportunities and interactive opportunities and everything else. So I think that there are many different ways to do it, and that you're seeing different networks or different types of media outlets take a swing at what kind of fits them and their thesis and their demographics. But I think that you'll continue to see both, and it's nice to see some of those linear players jumping into the space as well. It certainly makes sense for them, as the average age of traditional sports fans continue to increase, and the average age of an esports viewer is in their early 20s. So they need to find ways to engage those younger people. And it's through esports and gaming. It's through interactive content. It's through, content that comes in a multitude of forms of media. And, I think you'll continue to see all of those different things intertwined in how esports and gaming are produced.
Have you seen anything on linear that you would say has done it the best as far as broadcast goes, or something that you just really enjoyed?
I think a lot of them have been good. I think that if there's one thing that linear networks know how to do, it's put on a broadcast. They know how to get the right talent. They know how to produce it to the highest quality. They know how to, from a tech standpoint, they have infinite resources at their disposal. So I think a lot of them have done it well. Of course, the tough thing is having it be authentic to the culture of esports and gaming, and kind of keeping that authenticity, not making it look or feel too corporate or too linear. For core esports fans, but I think a lot of them are doing a good job, and it's still a learning experience. I mean, even esports outlets are still learning how to create the best broadcast. Even the major leagues are still trying to figure out how to create the best viewership experience. I mean, a lot of these leagues have been around for a year or two. It took, how many decades was it until the NBA was on TV, and then when they were, it was on tape delay, and then a couple of years later, they were finally on live. It takes time to figure out how to best engage people and how to best package this content that's available to you. But I think, people are starting to figure it out and find different methods of doing so. So something we'll certainly keep an eye on.
That's cool. Three things, I kind of threw these out to you earlier. I want to hit on kind of quick just to get your feel for them. First, gambling, sports books, what's going on? It's obviously been a large drop in gambling. I mean, it's almost evaporated because there are no traditional pro sports to gamble on right now. And esports has seen an uptick. And I know that there's Vegas or Nevada has improved a number of areas that you can gamble on in the gaming industry. So where do you see that now? And again, do you think that's accelerated this? And what do you think is going to happen once traditional pro sports come back?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are a lot of people out there that just want to get some action, that they just on games, that just like to bet. That's just one of the activities they enjoy doing. And as a result, some of them are learning about esports and saying, hey, I just want to, do something. I have no sports to bet on, so where can I place some money, or where can I make a bet? And esports are basically one of the only ways to do that right now. So I think that has caused or will cause an increase in esports kind of fandom and viewership, as well as, some of these guys will be converted, or some of these people will be converted to esports fans, or at least maintain their interest or in the space. And I think esports betting is farther away than esports fantasy. I think that there's still a lack of even just general fantasy sports around esports like you have in traditional sports. And I think that because of the fact that esports fans are primarily younger, primarily not traditional sports fans, I think that there will be a bit of a learning curve as they figure out how to bet in general, let alone how to bet on esports. Mm-hmm. But I think that that'll start with traditional, just fantasy, season-long fantasy sports, or esports with your friends, and around these major leagues, or daily fantasy, around esports and gaming, and then that'll continue to lead into traditional betting after that.
I agree. On the investment side, we saw some investments recently with FaZe raising $40 million, and then also Billy, and I didn't do enough research on this, but they raised $400 million. Can you speak to either one of those raises?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there are the world is going through a macroeconomic crisis in a lot of ways. There's been incredible volatility in the public markets. There have been a lot of people trying to figure out how to make sense of everything that's happening right now. With that said, there have been a ton of private market investment funds, whether it's venture or private equity, that have raised incredible amounts of money over the past few years in the wake of this unprecedented bull market, and that they have significant stockpiles of cash that they need to invest over the next couple of years. As a result, there's a lot of money out there in the private markets. Simultaneously, esports and gaming are some of the only industries that are seeing growth in the wake of everything happening in the world right now, that have not been shut down, that have not been incredibly negatively impacted. If anything, they've been benefited in some ways by the increase in viewership and number of gamers and number of time spent and hours watched and everything else. So you have this coupling of a lot of money out there in private market funds, and you've got a lot of interest in esports and gaming. I mean, we've had a number of larger funds in our network, whether it's managing partners at private equity funds or whatever, that have called us and said, "Hey, we want to do something in esports and gaming now. What do we do?" And meanwhile, they've never seen a video game in their life, but they're just interested. They know that there's something happening. There aren't many other attractive industries to place capital in right now. So I think as a result, you're going to see a lot of companies raise these bigger rounds. Not only has consolidation occurred in the industry where, if you're not one of the 10 or 15, from a team standpoint at least, if you're not one of the 10 or 15 top organizations that own multiple franchises and that have raised, 30, 40, $50 million before, you're pretty much toast. It's a lot of consolidation has occurred among teams. So I think that one, you've seen that where the top organizations are even more dominant than before, and two, a lot of capital that is going to be interested in flowing into the space. So I think that's a cause for some of these rounds you're seeing, and also I think you'll see more of these kind of rounds going forward as people try to figure out how to get into some of these deals.
You think that that's probably one of the most difficult things for you right now is just educating people in the space? Because when I jumped into the space, I immediately wanted to surround myself with a lot of people that were, I thought, experts in the space. And then you learn very quickly what's going on because you need to be authentic. You need to be able to speak the language. But I also know that as I go out there and I continue to talk to people in public, when you're in something for 5 years, if you're endemic to it like yourself, you think that everybody else knows it. It's amazing to me when I talk to, a lot of executives, a lot of parents about esports and gaming, I still get blank looks. I spoke to a group of attorneys and bankers just 4 or 5 months ago, and I started with 40, 50 people, started with a raise of the hands. How many people have heard of Ninja? And only 3 people rose their hand.
Yeah.
And to me, that was
not only that. I mean, we've been talking to some fund managers that are just friendly of ours, or that run larger funds or later stage funds. That they barely know how to work a smartphone. These are guys in their 60s, 70s, former investment bankers who just look for opportunistic investing or ways to invest opportunistically. And like I said, they barely know how to work a smartphone. They've never seen a stream in their life. If it's not on one of the major networks on television, they don't even use social media. So it's like how do you educate them not just on the space but the unique culture within it? So when they say, oh, okay, so if I take a big piece of this esports company, how do I optimize it? Is it by where are the fans on Facebook? Are the fans on, do I SMS text them? Literally these are questions that I've gotten. It's like, have you heard of Discord? Have you heard of Reddit? Have you heard of, have you seen a Twitch chat? That are primary ways that people in this community communicate with one another. And of course it's, there's a lot of education even on that side of things of this culture that you have to learn before you can start deploying capital within it, and to understand the opportunities that are within it as well. And even just to relate to the founders. The founders in esports and gaming are very different than your fintech founders or your healthcare founders or whatever. It's a very close-knit community and a very unique culture. And I just think you have to really, pour yourself in it to understand it properly, to be able to properly deploy capital within it.
Yeah, and you make some great points, because one of the questions I was going to ask you is just there are so many different ways to communicate these days, right? And so there's that group, this level of executive that speaks mostly through phone, text, and email, and that's it. But when you talk to gamers, I reached out to FAU and they wanted to talk through Discord. And I'll be honest, Joey, I don't use Discord very often. So I had an account, but I didn't even know how to get on the call. Like, it took me 30 seconds or a minute just to figure out where do I hit the button to accept the phone call. Yeah. And so it was interesting to me. And then when I go to my kids who are 14 and 11, all their communication is done through their Xbox. Yeah. It's all done through their Xbox, and they're typically on Fortnite or whatever game, but it's all on their chat through Xbox. So if I want to call my son right now at home, he won't even answer his phone. He won't really answer an email. But if I get online and I'm playing a game, I'll have him like that. Yeah. So it's fascinating to me, and it's an interesting dynamic right now for people to navigate. And I think you're in a great spot because you know the top level and you know the bottom level, so you can bring it all together. So I see for you that education process that we're talking about, it just seems to me like that's a big part of what you need to do, but you're in a great space to be able to do that for people. And I think for me, the biggest thing is just doing it. Once I get on Discord and I start to learn it, then it just takes a little while, but you can figure it out. But it's a different language.
100%. Yep.
Yeah. Before I let you go, there's something that I kind of want to do at the end of all of these podcasts, just to, I think, help anybody that's going to listen. And some of those are maybe best practices, habits, just, hacks of your own personal life. And so just sleep wise, like how often, like what time do you usually go to sleep? What time do you wake up? How much sleep do you need a day?
I don't think I'm probably the best, example for people to follow for this particular question. I think I'm probably getting like, 5 hours or 6 hours a night or something like that, which as my girlfriend will tell you, I need to be getting more, and and she's in the medical field, so she likes to remind me on a regular basis that you need your 8 hours or more and whatever. But it's as I'm sure you know as well, it's kind of hard to shut everything off. You want to keep working, you want to keep learning and reading and studying and communicating and everything else. And I think that I love pouring myself into the things I'm passionate about, and often are, obsessive over learning as much as I can. So it's, do I read this, interesting study or thought piece for the next hour, or do I go to sleep now? However, for everyone at home, as I'm putting on my, trying to set an example cap, you should all try and get your proper 8 hours or more, and fulfill the best practices that, that medical professionals are recommending. So.
Well, you branched off there because you went right into my next question, which was really talking about the athletes and their sleep habits, because you're investing in these guys, you're investing in these teams and in these clubs. So what's it look like elite performance for those guys? Because you're talking about your own sleep habits and you're saying, like, don't do what I do, right? Don't sleep 5-6 hours a day. You really need to sleep more than that. And so what do you feel is happening as far as elite performance goes and sleep habits go in the Toronto Ultra and the Defiant? Where do you see that? Because I've seen in a very quick amount of time, right? Gaming was around 50 years, that eSports came along. eSports, it was, I game for 12 hours, you game for 13. I game for 14. It was just who gamed more hours. And
Yep.
Now that all these big traditional sports teams have come involved, it seems like they're spending more time on performance training, which is doing the right things for the right amount of time.
So it's always going to be a give and a take. And the reason why our players have reached this level is because they're obsessed with what they do and they want to become the best in the world. So just like it's tough to keep Michael Jordan out of the gym at 3 a.m. when he wants to shoot an extra 1,000 jumpers because he's frustrated, it's tough to keep these guys off the game and to have them practice those best practices. And I remember when I was in Berlin this past summer, I was at our League of Legends training center there, and I met with some of the players and coaches. And last year, Kabe was the best player on our team. He led us to the quarterfinals, the World Championships. Phenomenal player. And I asked the coaches, I was like, what makes this guy so good? How he was first team all league. How does he do it? And they said, well, we're training from 11 or 12 in the morning through 7 or 8 p.m. at night every day. We're doing practice games, training sessions, strategy sessions, gym sessions, nutrition sessions, everything. And beyond that, he's playing an extra 70 practice games per week. Think about, and these are, lengthy games. These are not 5-minute games. These are, 20, 30, 40-minute games. He's playing an extra 70 practice games per week.
Right.
And it's the same thing, like, okay, well, Michael Jordan's shooting an extra 10,000 shots a week or more, compared to everybody else. And that's why he's so great. So you're always, the players that want to become the best in the world are always going to want to play that one more game. But the team and the trainers and the medical staff and nutritionists have to counteract that and try and instill best practices as much as they can. So that's why, we have a sports psychologist, we have nutritionists, we have multiple coaches. So each player can feel like that they have that personal touch with a personal relationship, with a coach where they're cared for and they know what to do and have that kind of a shoulder to rely on of, okay, what do I do, or how do I do it? How do I, I've been playing a lot, but my energy level's low. What do I do about it? And, they know their schedules and whatever else. So it's important just about balancing those two things. And it's like, anyone that wants to become the best in the world at what they do is going to want to continue grinding as much as possible, but they have to also learn that, and it's something I try and remind myself as well, that you just have to learn that 4 hours of work at 100% capacity is better than 8 hours of work at 50% capacity or 20% capacity or less. It's better to work where you are fresh and able to really be efficient than just dragging things out over extended periods of time, or over leveraging or working when you're tired or sick or whatever. So it's just finding a balance.
Yeah, that's always in life, right? That's always the challenge, is finding the balance, the yin and yang. The other prong that you kind of talked about was you always want to learn more. You're always learning. You want to know the next thing. That's one of the reasons why I love the space so much, right? When I first got involved, it's so dynamic. There's so much going on. You get in a conversation, it's almost tough to stop the conversation sometimes, right? And I actually have told a number of people, because when you go to DreamHack and you go to different events, these large-scale events, you meet numerous people, and all of them have great ideas about how to make a difference in the space, but you've got to pick a lane. But having said that, when you're like looking at finding information, where do you go? So when I first got in, there was only a few places really to find any information was online. There's no books out there right now on esports. I know William Collis is going to have one coming out soon, but there's really very few books out there on esports. There's a lot on business for other business practices, but I went to the business of esports, and that's where I learned a bunch of things about this space. And then it was just face-to-face and meeting with people. Yeah. What do you do when you wake up in the morning? Are you online? Where are you finding all this information? And
I think it's threefold. I think one, the best information is always going to come from firsthand sources that are intertwined and embedded within the industry. So, we have been in the space long enough that we know the majority of, team owners, of sponsors, of players, of coaches, of executives, whatever. And I try and keep in touch with them as much as possible, just to share ideas and hear what's happening and go back and forth. And social media is a great place, Twitter especially. There's a number of phenomenal accounts to follow. And when you talk about news sources, I love the Esports Observer, Esports Insider, as well as they do a great job. There are a number of those kind of platforms to go to kind of hear news, here and there of what's happening in the space. But it's tough. It's very kind of fragmented right now. It's very disjointed right now. There's not that, one or two stop shops to go to and learn and see everything all together. Especially if there aren't a lot of ways that's more of the general news front, but there aren't a lot of ways to just quickly learn everything about the space if you've never heard of it before. Like you said, like I can, read 20 different books about sports business or about the sports industry and learn, a good foundation, within a couple of weeks. But there really isn't anything like that in esports right now. But I think that'll all come with time. I mean, these spaces are so young, the NBA, the NFL, the MLB have been around for 50, 70, 90, 100 plus years. So, these major leagues in esports have been around 1 or 2. So, that'll all come with time.
Well, and to your point, I just saw, and I'm sure you probably read about it too, the Twitter directory, right? And I think it's a directory that's more about what the programming is that's happening, what games are happening when, because it's challenging, right? Especially if you're a fan of multiple games. If I want to watch an NBA game, I know like basically every night of the week, right? When we don't have the coronavirus, when there's not a pandemic, there's going to be a game on. And if I'm watching Golden State play the Lakers tonight, they're going to be promoting the next game and the big Friday game, and we don't. So the Twitter directory to me is going to be a big step in that direction. And then I think ESPN is actually trying to consolidate a lot of the esports space as well, just on the story and narrative side.
There's a company out there that friendly with the founder Ben called Juped, and they're trying to be a kind of TV guide for esports and gaming as well. There are a couple of companies that are looking to do those kind of things to solve that exact problem of, okay, how do we help inform people where to watch esports and when? I mean, we even have a problem with this. I mean, my partners and I will text each other like, wait, is our Call of Duty team playing today, or was that tomorrow? Or was that at 8, or was that 8 Central, or was that 8 Eastern? Like,
Right.
I just don't know half the time. So that's certainly a problem in the space. And like you said, it's an easy fix. So it's nice to see, Twitch and some of these other companies, doing these kind of things.
Yeah. Before you go, a couple things. Just what do you see right now that you're most excited about in the space? And I mean, I know you're a gamer yourself. So what are you playing?
In terms of what I'm excited about, it's the fact that a lot of people that had never heard of esports or had never played a game themselves are starting to learn more and more about the space. There were some games that I had never seen before we invested in the space that I'm now, a true fan of. League of Legends is a great example. I had never played League of Legends in my life. That may be my favorite esport to watch now. Like, I love watching our team, Mad Lions, play. I love the personalities involved, the strategy, all of it. And I think that I tell a lot of my friends that are just traditional sports fans, like, dude, if you just learn the rules and you watch it, I guarantee you'll be entertained. And right now, and typically I'm always blown off of, oh, come on, I don't want to. Right. But now there's literally nothing else to watch. So I'm starting to get texts where it's like, wait, what time was that thing on? Like, maybe I'll give it a shot. I've got nothing else to do right now, or tomorrow, or next week, or the week after. So maybe I'll give it a shot. Right. And I think that as more and more people just give it a shot, more and more people will become fans. And I think that'll just be great for the industry altogether. I mean, like I said, I've had, my nearly 70-year-old aunt and uncle in Arizona who had heard about esports and gaming from, dinners together or phone calls or whatever, but had no idea what I was talking about, see an article in their local newspaper or in the New York Times or whatever about esports and gaming. And they've been sending it to me like, wait, this is that thing that you're involved in, or this is that league that you mentioned, or, hey, I saw it's going to be on ESPN. Like, that's incredible. I'm going to watch it. And, of course, I don't think that they're going to become, diehard passionate fans, but they're learning about it, and, they'll talk about it to someone else, and maybe that person will check it out as well. And it just grows from there. So I'm excited about these industries altogether. I think there's a ton of innovative people, a ton of, the brightest minds in sports and media and entertainment have all come into esports and gaming, and it'll be fun to see what happens over the next few years. So we're excited, and we'll see how it all plays out.
That's awesome. As a last question then, for anybody that's interested in getting into the space and jumping in, any recommendations, suggestions about how someone would get into the space, regardless of where that is, because there's so many segments, right? That you can get in the health industry, you can get into law, you can get in as a gamer, you can get in as a front office person for content creation or an esports team. So what are your suggestions?
So I speak in a lot of universities and schools and things like that to other young people. And typically they're always interested in traditional sports. And they always say, my dream is to play in traditional or to work in traditional sports. How do I do it? And I always say that, traditional sports has many more jobs than the people that you know of. We all know who LeBron is, but most of us will never have the opportunity to fill that particular role, right? That's not plausible for most of us. However, the Lakers have marketing teams and ticket sales teams and sponsorship teams and content teams and basketball operations and equipment and arena related and tech and all these different verticals or all these different departments that they need full infrastructure around, where all of us, if we learn and study and grow and build our skills and network, can work in those and work right next to LeBron or support LeBron, but, without actually being able to jump 45 inches and dunk and be 6'8", 270 or whatever.
Right.
And it's the same thing in esports. There are a lot of people out there that love the game or that love to watch, but, will never be Methods from our Call of Duty team, or will never be Carzy from our League of Legends team. But maybe they can work in, our Overactive, for example. They have a phenomenal marketing team, a phenomenal content team, live events, social media, finance, tech, partnerships, team operations, coaching, all these different avenues that you can go into. So study hard, learn your traditional fundamentals of that career. So learn your business fundamentals, your marketing fundamentals, your content fundamentals, and then learn how that can apply to this new innovative field that you're interested in, and then just keep networking. I tell everyone, like, if you pick the 10 people who you want to be one day, and then you find them on LinkedIn and then you message them, I bet 8 out of those 10 people will jump on the phone with you. And how great is that, to spend a half hour getting advice from a person whose job you want to have one day? So if you're a student and you say, my dream is to work in, to be the chief marketing officer of the Lakers because I love basketball. If you go and you reach out to 10 marketing executives around the NBA, I bet you 8 of them will get on the phone with you. And what better advice is that? And the same thing in esports. If you say, I want to be a coach, I want to be a executive, I want to work in finance, I want to work in partnerships, sponsorships, ticket sales, content, social media, I want to work with the leagues, I want to be an executive for the Call of Duty League. If that's what you say, then go find those people and talk to them. And especially in esports, people are so accessible. I mean, I get reach outs on LinkedIn all the time, and I'd say 90% of the time, I will get on the phone with that person and share some advice or feedback or exchange emails or whatever. So just, be aggressive, network, build your brand, and try and meet as many people as possible. If you can, when I was first starting out, I had a spreadsheet of every person I knew. And as I continued to network with people, I added, and that list got to 500 people and 600 people and 700 people. And it wasn't just that I had met those people once. If you pull up our internal CRM or whatever you want to call it now, and out of the hundreds of people, I could probably tell you for every single one of them where they live, something about themselves, something about their family, who their favorite sports team is, where they're from originally, and another small, anecdote about them. Because I'm really invested in learning who these people are, building the relationships with them, and then learning how we can build and grow together. And I think if you just spend the time investing in building your network and forming real relationships with these people, learning those details, becoming, friendly with them, then I think that you'll be able to find that career path. So just keep reaching out, keep talking to people.
Yeah, man, I think that is phenomenal advice. I think networking has always probably been the number one thing that has helped me move along in my career and meet the people I've met. And I think the other point you made is a phenomenal point that I know, coming from the traditional sports world into the esports world, is that the esports world right now is very, very easy, and it's going to get more challenging, but it's very easy to reach out to people and get a response, because it's a smaller dynamic right now, and there's not as many gatekeepers. Yep. I've been telling people, I'm not reaching out to Jerry Jones, but if you try to reach out to Jerry Jones through the Dallas Cowboys, you may never get there. But if you try to reach out to him through complexity, you might have a shot, right? Because there's the gatekeepers. It's just not as big as an organization. So it's phenomenal right now. That's one of the reasons why I think esports is such a great space, because everybody wants to give. It's a very giving community. And everybody's open to exactly what you said, to networking and to helping other people.
One of the things that frustrates me about the industry is that people like to be, a lot of the fans or a lot of the people within it like to be kind of snarky from time to time. One poor viewership statistic comes out, one, player makes does something, whatever, and everyone likes to flock on social media and criticize. But we're all invested in this industry together. We are all going to grow as the other one grows. And, I want everyone in the industry to do well. I want everyone in the industry to grow, because that just helps us as well. So I think that like you said, I think that esports, the community does a great job of being well connected, but I think we need to do a better job of supporting each other as well, and not just wanting to get those extra couple likes on Twitter by going and posting a snarky tweet about this particular team or player or league or whatever, just because, we feel like it, or we feel like it's amusing, let's try and build together, and let's try and shine a positive light on what's happening in the industry.
That's awesome. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Joey, for sharing his time, experience, and knowledge with us today. As always, I feel like a pupil in Joey's classroom whenever I sit down to have a discussion with him. So like me, you can listen again now, but you can also find timestamped segments of the show, links to Joey's social pages, and more information about his company, projects, and media in the show notes. If you enjoyed our discussion, please let us know. Continue the conversation with me across all social platforms and become part of the Ultimate Gamer community today by subscribing at ultimategamer.com. We release 2 shows a week on Tuesday and Thursday, so be the first to join us for some outstanding upcoming guests and or dive back into the library of previous Level Up pods to hear some of the most brilliant minds in the space. Experts like COO of Torque Esports, Darcy Lawrence, Executive Director at the International Game Developers Association, Renee Giddens, and Science of Esports Guru and Chief Performance Engineer Statespace, Taylor Johnson, just to name a few. You can find all of these episodes and more on the Ultimate Gamer website, on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your pods. And finally, please like, rate, review the show. It helps us reach the gaming community to spread the word and share the wisdom of our guests, as well as some of the most thought-provoking stories in the industry. Shout out, as always, to the Ultimate Gamer. I look forward to being with you on the next Level Up podcast.